All right, so welcome everyone. Good to have you here. And also welcome to those who are listening to this online. As usual, we have a question from Daniel this time. All right, so he says, the retreat in summer was life-changing and the habit of meditation has been incorporated in my daily life. Following your guided meditations with a mix of Samadhi and Vipassana over SoundCloud. I have a question about cultivating concentration and building a platform when I meditate every day. I feel like the mind is extremely unfocused and it's difficult to maintain concentration on the different tasks. Even though the transition from observing the mind instead of identifying with it is present. Any thoughts? All right, very good. So when we are trying to focus on our meditation, the task at hand, then it's something that has its causes. Many times we try to meditate, we feel this sense of self that is a meditator that kind of needs to build the meditation. Very often that can be a great disturbance, great obstacle to our meditation practice. So rather than sensing oneself as the meditator, the one that tries to focus, which is a pretty hopeless task, rather I would recommend to come to the causes of Samadhi, the building blocks of it. And one primary cause is within the way we spend our day, a primary cause of meditation. If the meditation practice doesn't work, quote unquote, as we would expect it, like many people judge that by the way it feels, we'll come to that a little bit later, then we need to look within our day-to-day life. Always the same thing. So most of the time, many of us are busy, we have jobs to do, we have families to attend to, or continuous bombarding that is happening of the senses, day in, day out. So then, of course, it is quite clear that it's not easy to focus for the mind, to gather within itself. We all, for example, know that when you're listening to a very catchy song, then you sit down in your meditation practice, then the tendency for the song to go on in your mind is there. It just doesn't stop. The song or the mind doesn't feel like, all right, now Tobi is meditating, I'm going to give him a good time. And I just stop playing songs and stuff like this. But instead it just follows its habit. And the habit of the mind is basically to make noise in order so that it doesn't have to look at itself. It doesn't have to see itself. So noise is a way for the mind to stay distracted from what matters. So it doesn't have to look at itself. It's distracted by its own noise. So the mind kind of has to do that. It's survival strategy for the mind to be unfocused. If the mind would come together within itself and attain a state of focus, then that at the same time leads to a diminishing of self, of ego. The more still your mind becomes, the less footing for the self, for the ego, is there to be found. It's almost like you're pulling the rock underneath the feet of ego. Stillness has that effect. That's also why the Buddha consistently advises actually to cultivate Samadhi. He doesn't say, oh, just let go and cultivate only Vipassana, it is sufficient. But he also encourages again and again to bring in, you can say, another type of letting go, which is known as Samadhi. And so what are we letting go of? in the practice of Samadhi. What is causing Samadhi to arise? Samadhi is nothing that you do. Strictly speaking, meditation is nothing that you do. It is something that happens when all causes are present. Like the growth of a plant. It happens when there is water, when there is fertile ground, when there is sunshine, there is wind. When all these causes come together, of course, with the seed present, a plant will appear naturally. It doesn't have to strain to appear. It doesn't feel like, oh, I have to grow faster. It's going all too slow. But if there is plenty of nutrition for it, then it grows. So what's the nutrition of Samadhi? As already mentioned in the beginning, the nutrition is to be found first and foremost in the way you spend your life. Are you spending your life in a way that is very distracting? Do you have sufficient amount of gaps in your day-to-day life? Of course, it would be ideal to lead a lifestyle that is completely free from distraction. That's also a reason why some people decide to go up into the mountains or into the monastery or do retreats. It allows for periods of time where you're totally undistracted. You don't have to worry about making money. You don't have to worry about taking care of your family and so forth. There's a dedicated time for really focused effort in your practice. And that is good. If you can have those kind of times, it will help you on your path. That's the reason why it's good to do a retreat from time to time. You can do retreats. You can have quiet times during the day. Retreat during the day. Kind of cultivating and developing the necessary discipline of sitting down regularly, for example, with consistency, is very helpful. When it comes to taming the mind, okay? Not for vipassana though, that is something else. But in order to empower the practice of clear seeing, which is vipassana, we have to have a powerful mind which is able to rest within itself and which is happy enough to do so. This is a result. You can say the mind becomes energized through stillness. Those of you who already practice for a while, you already have some experience with meditation, you know that when the mind becomes still, there's an influx of energy immediately. You're immediately nourished physically as well as mentally. Physically through health, you get a healthy body, healthy system. Mentally, it's happiness, isn't it? You can move your body in a healthy way, it creates health. Movement creates health in the body, and stillness creates health in the mind. I mentioned that several times already. Health in the mind is expressed as simply as happiness. A healthy mind is a happy mind, is a strong mind. You feel blissed inside. The nutrition for that is stillness. And the nutrition for your meditation practice, the kind of formal sessions, is your lifestyle. For example, many people are worried about what they eat. So, for example, should I eat more green smoothies? Sandy over here, she's a nutrition expert as well. So, and it's very popular also there's so many diet forms, aren't there? There's so many forms of what you can eat to stay healthy. Some people say you have to eat a lot of cucumbers, it cools you down. And then someone that feels very hot, they then start eating cucumbers every day until another kind of imbalance is happening. It's going like this all the time, up and down. So people are, in general, concerned with what they eat, health-conscious people at least. But that's not the only form of nutrition. There's many types of nutrition. Also, for example, what you eat with your eyes. Also a form of nutrition, isn't it? Like what kind of websites do you browse on, or what kind of information do you digest? This is super important. This building block of samadhi, how crowded Or how much noise do we create or seek after each day that is unnecessary noise? Like, let's say, for example, in my own example, there is this tendency to grab my phone when I have nothing to do and to check what's happening. Did I get a new message? Did someone write to me? So there's always this reflex. And I notice that this is majority of these grabbing the phone happenings is a reflex. It happens as a reflex. And it can happen if there's no mindfulness. I don't notice, oh, there's something inside that doesn't feel quite happy, so I need to grab the phone to kind of put noise on top of it. So I don't notice my general sense of unease. And that general sense of unease, it arises only within those quiet gaps, these moments when you wait. For example, waiting in a queue. Yesterday we had to go to the German consulate in Phuket. And we had to wait for about 2 hours or so before it was our turn. Just sitting there. It was full of people. And I must say, I'm fortunate that I know what to do with my mind, because otherwise it's unbearable 2 hours. You don't know what to do. It feels unpleasant. Just waiting. So it's these moments, and there is a lot of waiting for all of us, isn't there? There's many gaps where we could practice. Let's say the walk out from your car to the restaurant. It's a short walk. Why not just walk? Why worry about the menu? And then you enter the restaurant, you find your place, you sit down on the chair. Why not just sit for a little while? Then the menu comes. It's next step. Then you open the menu. Why not just opening the menu? Mentally also. This is a practice of unifying body and mind, isn't it? The body is already here. It's already opening the menu. Is the mind doing the same? Or do you notice a sense of forward striving in the mind? To let's see what's in there. It all feels very exciting. It feels like alive in a way, you can say. It has its own sense of aliveness to it. But it's very detrimental to focused practice. So in order to build the power of focused practice, we have to kind of search for these gaps in everyday activity. I do understand that it's difficult sometimes when someone is talking with you, or when you have to answer to an email, or a phone call comes in while you're doing something else. That is usually difficult to remain present. But I also found it is doable, it's manageable to answer an email in a field of presence, just doing your work really, not doing other things nearby. Like answer an email while at the same time tweeting that you're currently answering emails. Talking to your spouse all at the same time while having a cup of tea. It's too much like this. So try to reduce this kind of multitasking as good as you can. In some work environments that is required, you have to kind of be all the time active and busy, and that's all right. This is okay, but try to see if you can put in some gaps in between. If it is going to the bathroom, to the toilet, make that your little mindfulness practice. Each time you walk, little tasks. So today, each time when I walk, I will be focused on walking. So that's how you cultivate the skill of focusing. So bringing the mind together. Now another very, very big thing that helps in the practice of focusing your mind is abandoning one of the major obstacles, which is ill will. Which is known as, it's one of the 5 hindrances, which is ill will, vyapada. It means that there is a sort of aversion towards, for example, the meditation object. Like there's a sort of an aversion towards the breath. If you want to focus on the breath, there's something that doesn't want to focus on the breath inside of you, that kind of sees the breath as an obstacle. It's in my way. I have much more important things to do than focusing on the breath. So the breath is seen as an obstacle. It's very subtle. It's a very subtle energy. And so in a way, we are fighting our way against our own mind. And so sure, your mind is highly uncomfortable. How could it relax? And the primary cause of samadhi, or for the mind to come together and unify in itself, is happiness. If you're unhappy, it's very hard to come together in the mind. It kind of comes together. Once the mind becomes a little bit more quiet, a little bit more happiness arises. That happiness then again in turn helps the mind to become more quiet. Mind more quiet, more happiness comes up. It's that kind of a positive circle. It's feeding each other, calmness and happiness. I'm not talking about the happiness that you have while at the fun fair. Not that kind of happiness. This is just nervous energy, really. Happiness, like genuine sense of contentment and peace within, is a very powerful sensation. Known as rapture also, or piti, as bliss, sukha. So these factors arise when the mind gathers together. The mind gathers together when you drop ill will towards the mind, or the breath, or your meditation object, whatever it is that you happen to focus on. Let's say it is the breath. Let's say you practice our technique, and then you come to the moment when you're bringing your silent present moment awareness to the breath. Recognizing the in-breath, recognizing the out-breath. Are you friends with your breath? Do you feel happy when you see your breath? Like genuinely, like, hey, my breath. It's like if you could, you would give it a hug. Something like that. That is ideal. You're experiencing kindness towards your breath. There's metta towards your breath. It's very practical to cultivate kindness in such ways. Kindness doesn't just only mean walking around and smiling at everyone and handing out gifts to everyone. Even though that's very kind and very nice, isn't it? But also it starts with the way you treat yourself. How do you talk to yourself internally? Is it more like, come on, focus, damn it. You're still unfocused. And there, another bout of distraction. When will this ever stop? Or, hey, there it is again. Hey, breath. It's great to see you again. Let's hang out for a little while, however long you would like to stay. I'm happy to see you. And quickly your mind will notice that you're a nice guy, and your mind will love to hang out with you, promise. It will not like very much to hang out with you when you are here as a control freak and you would like to control your mind into submission. I have to tame my mind. That bad monkey mind, get over here, sit still. Then of course, whatever your mind wants to do, it wants to run away from you, we call it distraction. Would you like to spend time with a control freak that tells you what you must do, what you should do all the time? It's very unpleasant. Someone that is ruled by fear, really. Constantly needs to control what you do, what you say, where you sit, how you sit, even how you walk. So stressful. And we are doing that to ourselves very often. Like controlling ourselves, our inner kind of what can you say? It's like a group of people that lives inside of you. There is the angry guy, there is the happy guy, there is the emotional wreck. There's all these kind of people in there, and there's also a governor. And the way the government runs depends on the governor. And if the governor is a generally nice and kind guy, then all the others can relax. For example, they could be honest, because they know the governor will not cut off their heads for being honest. Then they can be honest. And in an atmosphere of honesty, pretty much naturally, that meditation grows. An atmosphere of honesty also comes from kindness. You don't have to be scared. Your mind doesn't have to be scared of you. That's what the hindrance, the obstacle of ill will really does. It makes every aspect of yourself, except the meditator, terrified of meditation. The stronger the control freak, the more terrified the rest of you will be when it comes to meditation again. And your body will develop all sorts of obstacles and hindrances, so just that you're not sitting down on the pillow and relax. If relaxation becomes a demand, another torture instrument of the ego, relax, harder, faster. When are you getting there? In such an atmosphere, it's very difficult to enter Samadhi. Another building block is kindness. One of the most important ones, to be honest, is kindness. How kind you are towards yourself. It really means kindness is, to a degree, your spaciousness. How much do you allow the world to be as it is? How much space do you have? Because the world is a messy place. And if we are looking inside, the mind is equally as messy, of course. And there are many, many aspects that we rather would not experience, rather would not have within. But are they allowed? Is your sadness allowed? Or is it locked into a cage right from the beginning? How many shoulds are there? How many should nots are there? And in an environment of a lot of should and should not, then also it's very difficult to be happy. Because happiness can only come once all the shoulds and should nots are fulfilled. Then I can be happy, says the mind. So the discipline, in a way, of meditation is to give yourself space to be yourself. And this is, for most people, the hardest thing to do, ever. Sure, we can accommodate all the happy emotions, the nice kind of stuff that comes up. But then when it comes to all the kind of aspects such as the control freak or anger, violence, when that arises inside, we usually suppress, we push against, we offer resistance, and we're contracting around it. And since there is this kind of habit to contract, also energetically, you might have noticed also with your muscles actually, there's a sort of contraction each time there's anger or some sort of controlling or fear. The whole body becomes more tense. There's no more spaciousness, no more relaxation there. So energy doesn't flow properly, life doesn't work properly. It's all blocked. For most people, this is the primary obstacle why meditation doesn't just work as expected. We're not leaving ourselves alone. We're giving ourselves a hard time instead of just dropping it, letting it go. That's why I said Samadhi is another way of letting go, just like Vipassana. And the letting go of Samadhi empowers the letting go of Vipassana, of clear seeing. Another powerful obstacle to meditation is restlessness and remorse. Feeling remorseful about your past, what you did. That can be like simple stuff like, I didn't do enough meditation, I should have done more. I could do more, but instead I'm here watching TV. Or in general, doing things that you would consider not so good, but you can't help it and you still do them. It leads to remorse. In another way of expressing it, it could be like it eats away at your self-respect. The antidote to that one is building actively self-respect, doing things that you find worthy of respect. And here I recommend also to really take it easy because of the obstacle of ill will, the first one. It is very hard for people to confuse these two. Like, okay, now I need to build self-respect. For ill will, that sounds great. Another thing I can doctor around with, another thing I can surgically remove from myself. Not that way, but building self-respect in very tiny, small steps, please. Like, do tiny, small things that you would feel proud of. And then also enjoy it. Wow, I did well there. And surprisingly, this is incredibly tough for many Buddhists to enjoy themselves. I've been in the Tibetan Buddhist monastery for 7 years. And I've developed in these 7 years, this is due to my own unskillful kind of approach to it, I've developed this kind of guilt, this feeling of I'm worth absolutely nothing. And due to all my negative actions of the past, I probably end up in hell after this life. And it was very scary for a long time. And now slowly, I'm kind of learning the art of actually being happy about the goodness that you do, right? Not just the goodness that other people do. We call mudita, sympathetic joy. You are enjoying other people being joyful. But it starts with yourself. Do you enjoy yourself? Do you celebrate your progress? For years I haven't noticed that I'm progressing on the path. I always felt stuck in the same way. I'm still the same like I was 5 years ago. That is not true. But to the ego, which is addicted to feeling negative about itself, that is true. I haven't changed. I'm still just as bad as I was. Likelihood that hell will still wait for me. I give a meditation teaching as an act of giving, and after the meditation teaching, I would then go on and criticize myself. I could have said that better. Why would I say that? That was stupid. Was it even true? I would have to check. Why didn't I say that? I didn't know. And in such an atmosphere, meditation doesn't happen, period. Then what happens is tension, really. We're tense. We're sitting down and we might be tense for an hour, maybe twice every day, and not develop. Even 20 years of practice, you're still stuck. Some people say, I meet a lot of people who come to the retreats, they would say, I've been meditating since 10 years, 8 years, 20 years. But still, they feel really stuck. And it's precisely due to these kind of obstacles. We're neglecting them. Restlessness, remorse. How remorseful do you feel about yourself? In other words, how much do you like yourself? That would be the antidote. What do you do to like yourself? Also important. Not just liking yourself for no reason, that is also dishonest. Lots of the new age kind of education goes into that. We are praising children for attending school. They get rewards and medals for attending school. It's the most normal thing ever. Attend school, right? Now you get like rewarded for nothing. What does that do to the children? They expect a lot for nothing. I don't want to do any work, but I want return. I want to be paid well, like this, isn't it? It's a problem nowadays. So if the same is then true for meditation, I don't do anything, but I really like what I do, it doesn't work. It's not honest. So you want to do small things more and more, and then actually notice them. Notice, wow, here I did well today. You can accumulate stuff. Today I want to do 5 things that I respect. So by the end of the day I can say, wow, today I did 5 things that are worthy of respect. They're amazing. And I'm happy about them. You're building the power of self-respect. You get out of remorse. Milarepa, a saint of Tibet, he said, my religion is to die without shame. It's a beautiful little saying. To die without shame. Not feeling ashamed about our life. Not in a negative sense, like you need to go not feeling guilty about life, but there is nothing that you regret. You're not feeling worried about what you did. You spend your time well. And we do that already if we make it a goal to spend our time well. Without trying to do that perfectly, of course, but doing it step by step, small, tiny steps. Please, this is important. You're not supposed to be perfect and free from shame. No one can. Impossible. Just for no reason, right? But you're building that path and you're celebrating being on that path. In general, celebrate meditation. Celebrate the leisure you have to sit down every day. Contemplate how awesome it is to be able to look at yourself every day and to let go and relax. To learn the art of exploring inner space. That's amazing. Celebrate it. It shouldn't be in any way overwhelming, so I think that's enough for today. These points, I think, are worth considering, bringing into your practice more joy, less critique, and generally discovering fun in whatever you do, discovering joyfulness in whatever you do. This is the best way of actually for the mind to come together and enjoy itself. All right? So thank you very much for coming today.